I've never really been much of a community lot builder. Mostly I like to build houses in The Sims, and I feel like I'm not very good at building community lots, but The Sims 4 got a new kit yesterday that really lends itself well to making things like restaurants and cafes and lounges, so I wanted to really put that new Cozy Bistro kit to the test, and I ended up spending hours last night making one of the biggest community lots that I have ever built, and it turns out maybe I don't dislike building community lots, because I actually had a lot of fun with this one. Before I show you what I built, I want to really quickly remind you that today is actually the last day of our charity fundraiser. We've spent the entire month of May, every single day I've been live on Twitch raising money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and we are this close to $500,000 raised. I'm gonna be live all day today over on Twitch, so I'll link my channel down below and also my fundraiser down below. If you want to pop in and hang out, I'll be playing Sims all day, and I bought a bunch of packs to give away, so hopefully that entices you. The Sims 4 got 2 new build kits yesterday. The first one is this Riviera Retreat kit, and this is mostly focused around pools and patios. It's got things like new pool trims, new patio furniture. It's got a lot of outdoor items, basically. And the second one is the Cozy Bistro kit, and this is what I want to focus on today. I was feeling pretty inspired by the fancy vintage lounge type furniture. So inspired, in fact, that I couldn't decide if I'd rather build a cafe or a restaurant, so instead I just built both. And as you can probably imagine, this took me a long time to complete, so let's just dive straight into the speed build. So we're building this in Windenburg, which is the world that came with Get Together, and this is on the Hare and Hedgehog lot, so this is usually where there's one of the default cafes, but I bulldozed it to make my own. And the vibes that we're going for are kind of like Parisian city street, except very loosely inspired by Parisian city street, if that makes sense. I really liked the idea of a big tall building that has some stores on the first floor and then maybe apartments up above it. And with that concept in mind, that's kind of where the idea spiraled into an absolutely massive lot. This ends up being 4 stories tall. On the left side, there's a restaurant, and on the right side, there's a cafe, and above it, there are 3 apartments. This is really fun in theory, but in practice for actual gameplay, you can't really use all of these things at once. There's not multi-purpose lots in The Sims 4, so you kind of have to just pick one. You can't have a functional apartment above a restaurant. You can't have a restaurant and a cafe at the same time. So what I've done instead is make the lot functional as all 3. So if you wanted to, you could swap it into a cafe, or you could swap it into a rental lot. It actually works as a lounge and a bar as well, so you've got options if you decide to download this, but I uploaded it to the gallery as a restaurant because I wanted to make a custom menu for my restaurant. I guess it's just kind of weird because if you're playing with it as a restaurant, there are furnished apartments upstairs that nobody lives in. There's an empty cafe next door. Empty as in there's no employees and nobody buying anything from it. But as with everything in The Sims 4, it takes a little bit of pretending to make it work, and this is one of those times where you kind of have to pretend. And the other thing is that this place looks kind of weird at this point, okay? I know. It's like a big giant tall box. Trust the process, all right? This is one of the biggest trust the process builds I have ever made. It takes time for this whole place to come together because at first it's looking kind of strange. Just give me a second. I swear it's not gonna be bad when it's finished, okay? It just needs some things added to make it start looking better. I knew what I wanted in my head. It just took me some time to like actually achieve that. You know what I mean? You can kind of see the more general shape starting to come together here. So what I've done is use all of the new windows and doors on the bottom floor. It's like basically completely surrounded by the new Bistro kit windows and doors. And then on the upper floors, I use windows from the university pack. On the 3rd floor, I put these little fake balconies, and these were kind of controversial in my Twitch chat, so I don't know how you're gonna feel about them. A lot of people were saying how it was too much, it looked too busy, but I really wanted to use them because they were gold, and I kind of liked how it matched the gold trim on the windows on the 1st floor. I had to size them down to fit them with the windows, and I know there's something about it that does look a little bit weird. They're definitely too small to actually stand on, but like in real life, maybe they could be flower boxes or something, you know? And I didn't hate it, so I wanted to try and keep it there. I swear it does start to look better once there's more stuff on the lot. Like once there's landscaping and wallpaper and stuff, it really does start to come together. Just give me a second. Don't panic. And then on the top floor, I wanted to have dormers. I was initially thinking that it might be kind of cool to have real dormers that we made with walls and then adding a roof, because then we could have real windows and then put something up there, but it wasn't really working, so I used the decorative dormers that come with university. I struggled a lot with that. As I was doing it, I kind of realized that I didn't like the staggered shape of the building. I kind of wanted it to be staggered at first, but the dormers didn't fit when I used it like that. It looked kind of strange. So So I ended up completely flattening it, and that was also a controversial choice on my Twitch chat. I know that right now it looks like one big flat building because it kind of is one big flat building, but I swear once it has some more stuff on it, it does come together. And I think the dormers look better this way, so I feel like it's a preferable choice. It's kind of funny how much trial and error there can be with exteriors of lots like this, especially for me, who I don't think is very good at building these community lots. It takes me a lot of back and forth to figure out what I want it to look like. The next big problem that we were facing was trying to figure out where the stairs were gonna go, because I knew I wanted to have the upstairs units be apartments, and I wanted to have a separate entrance to them. So I was trying to figure out, should there be a hallway like in between the two buildings? Should there be an exterior staircase? Should it be an interior staircase? So I tried to start thinking about floor plans. I knew that the cafe could be a lot smaller than the restaurant because it needs way less stuff. So I kind of stole space from the cafe there to get staircases added in. And what I ended up doing was having a back entrance on that back half of the cafe. There's a double door, and then there's a staircase that goes all the way up to the 3rd floor from in there. The restaurant on the left side ends up being 2 stories. The whole 2nd floor on the left belongs to the restaurant as well, so they've got some extra balcony space and things. I tried to put a fire escape on the side of the building. I don't know if this is weird or not. I don't know if like the style is weird or not. This style fire escape feels very like New York City to me, and I don't think that this building looks very New York City to me. But also it's The Sims, and so it doesn't really matter. It's a fake fire escape anyway. It's literally just a staircase to nowhere. But I think it's nice to have something on the side of the building. I tried to put the windows in line with it to pretend that your Sims could climb out of the window to get there, but they can't actually do that. There is a window, just one from high school years, that they can climb out of, but it doesn't really match the style of this building, so I didn't want to use that just for like storytelling purposes because it didn't really make sense. But while I'm working on floor plans and kind of trying to figure out the layout of this, now might be a good time to discuss my thoughts on the kit. I made an entire video yesterday where I went through all the items and kind of reviewed my initial thoughts after seeing them, but now that I've used this pack for a whole build, I feel like I have some better thoughts about how it can be used for things. I really like this Bistro kit. I feel like this one is way better than I thought it was gonna be. I knew I was gonna like some of the items, but I don't think I realized that I was gonna like it this much. It is a really solid pack for decorating basically an entire community lot. You could totally do a whole lounge with this if you wanted to. It has a bar, it has bar stools, it has a table and chairs, it's got lots of clutter and decor. There's like bookshelf type furniture and bar back furniture. There are multiple different types of lights. There's a ton of windows and doors. And I think a lot of the times when I complain about packs not having enough windows and doors, this would be a good example usually of something like that, because often I'll find myself frustrated that we only have one wall height for them, or they don't really match anything else, so it's hard to use. But in this case, with these windows, it's actually intentional that they don't match other things. Like when you find this sort of stuff in real life, the downstairs is different from the top floors above it, so it's okay that you can't use these across the whole building. Just to give you an example, I find Realm of Magic very hard to use because we only have a handful of windows in that pack, and there's not a good variety of sizes, so it's kind of hard to do an entire house with them. But with these, you don't have to do an entire house with them. You can pair these with base game windows, like the base game shuttered windows, and it would be totally fine. They fill the entire short wall height. It does kind of suck that we don't have a medium wall height variant. It would be cool if we did, but I think it's okay. I mostly build on a short wall height anyway. And they fill the entire wall, and they're kind of a statement piece, which is pretty cool. It looks like you've got this fancy molding surrounding the whole building, even though it's actually just windows. So in total, it's one single wide window, one double door, and then one open archway. It kind of looks like the archway is 2 open windows, but it's open for your Sims to walk through. I might be a little biased though, just because I love this style so much. I've tried to achieve this by faking it with the Discover University doors and windows before, and you can kind of do it. It's just that those windows are shorter, so typically I'll use them and then put like a wallpaper below that kind of matches the color. You just can't really do it as well with those, so I was really excited to get this pack. I've been getting a lot of questions about which of the 2 kits I think is better, and I'm actually not sure. Obviously this video is very heavily focused around the Bistro kit. I maybe used like 1 or 2 items from the other kit in this build. The wallpaper that you can see on the top left side of this is from the Riviera Retreat kit, but that's pretty much it. They don't really go together is the problem, unless I guess you wanted to make some sort of like poolside bistro, then they would go together. But I find them hard to compare, I think, just because of how different they are. So I like them for different reasons, if that makes sense. I guess it's just hard. I guess what I mean is that it's just hard to make a side-by-side comparison, especially with kits, because they're so niche. Like, I think objectively they both have similar amounts of content and they're similarly useful just for different reasons. It really comes down to your personal preference of like what style you'll think you use more. And I really like the Bistro kit because this is more my personal style for like fancy interiors. I love these types of windows, but I also don't build community lots very often. So realistically, the stuff from the pool kit I'll probably use more just because a lot more of my Sims have pools than they have bistros. Also, if you see movement right here, my cat's right there. She's got a little cat bed on the floor, so if you see anything happening, it's just a cat. I think we've grown accustomed to that by this point. I got 3 cats in this house. You're used to seeing random movement behind me, but that's Snap. But I don't know. I think I would probably tell you that I like the Riviera Retreat kit more just because I feel like I'm gonna use it more often, but I'm still undecided on that. I've done a build with both now. I'll post the Riviera Retreat build tomorrow on YouTube, so stay tuned so you can see both of my perspectives. Back to this one for a second though. I'm kind of working a little bit more on the exterior, and oh my gosh, I had so much fun doing the table setup for the restaurant. So I put a couple of strings of fairy lights outside, and then I filled it with pretty little bistro tables. They have this beautiful black and white pattern on them. And then on the interior, I went all out with the green. There's this beautiful green and gold tile for the floors, and then I used the matching green and gold wallpaper. I am obsessed with this. I think this wallpaper is gonna be one of my most used things from this kit. Realistically, I can see myself using it all the time just because it's a regular paneled wallpaper. The tile flooring is very fancy and it's very bold, which might make it kind of difficult to use, but it's so nice. So I put it pretty much everywhere downstairs. Upstairs, I wanted to use some curtains, and I actually used the curtains from the Riviera Retreat kit in there. I wasn't sure if they were gonna work, but I sized them down and they did kind of fit on the windows pretty nicely, so I tried them. And now we're working on the restaurant's kitchen. So this is a fully functional restaurant. It's got like the chef station and all the stuff that you might need. I wasn't really sure how to do this kitchen. Obviously, I don't really have a lot of restaurant experience in my personal life, and so I'm just kind of basing it off of what the Sims actually need, plus a couple of extras. So we have the chef station. I put a fridge and like a dishwasher and stuff. Realistically, all they need is the chef station, the waiter station, and the host station. They don't need any of the other fancy stuff. They don't need any of the other fancy stuff, but it kind of helps to sell it when you put those things in. So I have storage, we have a trash can, we got some shelves, things like that. I ended up using a wallpaper that comes from high school years. It's kind of a fancy tile. I felt like it looked really nice in here. I actually don't remember when I last used that wallpaper. It's one of those ones that I kind of forget exists, and so it was kind of fun to get a chance to use it in here. And then I put a plain white tile on the floor because the walls were kind of busy. The floors are kind of busy everywhere else as well, so it's nice to have something simple. You can see we have kind of like a sunroom vibe over on the left side, and I put the bar in this area. So we have a huge bar. There's like some wine bottles hanging from the ceiling. There's this beautiful bar back. I got some pretty accent lighting. And this is kind of where it begins to function also as a lounge if you want it to. I feel like when there's a bar in restaurant lots, I don't use them very often, but it does look cool and it looks kind of realistic. But if you wanted to swap this to be a lounge instead and like function more like a bar, you can change the lot type. It still works. I made sure I had all the required items for like so many different lot types. I was really going all out with this. There's something about this dark green with the gold that is so beautiful to me. I love this color scheme. I will say I tried a couple of accent colors that I did not love. I had a lot of black accents in here too, which I kind of liked, but then I tried to get black curtains and I felt like the curtains kind of just detracted from it. So I didn't end up putting any curtains downstairs. There is a new curtain from the Bistro kit. It's like a small curtain that fits on a 1-tile window. I like it, but I didn't like it in this particular room, if that makes sense. The other thing is that I tried to use the booth seating. So you'll see me kind of mess around with the booth seating a few times downstairs and upstairs. There is one new booth in this pack, and the problem with it is that it only works with a 2-tile wide dining table, so it didn't really fit with how I was trying trying to use it downstairs. It's like 3 tiles wide, and I just felt like it kind of didn't look very good. I was trying to use it more like a couch in a couple areas as well, but for some reason the booth seating in here, I couldn't get it to work. So I ended up using it instead in the cafe space. I basically have the booth lining a whole wall in the cafe, and that feels much more realistic and like way cuter to me. So just ignore my trial and error of the booth seating in here. I really tried to make it work. It wasn't gonna happen. Even like ways that it would make sense in real life, like with 2 booths back to back, that's not functional in The Sims because they have to walk around it, so they can't get to it like that. So it's just kind of complicated. I am excited to have a new booth because we only have 2. They're both from Dine Out, and they're both very different in style and the colors aren't as nice as this one. So I think this one's a little bit more easy to use in more spaces, which I'm kind of glad to see. But we're basically done now with the restaurant. So we're moving next door into the cafe. And this cafe ends up having more of a reddish color scheme. I was kind of trying to make a stark contrast between it and the restaurant. And so I really liked how it looked with the darker colors. This one is very small. So we've got a little cafe. It's functional if you've got get together. You can come here and basically buy like pastries and coffee, essentially. But it's got a few seats. It's got a lot of books everywhere. I loved the idea of it being very, very reading focused. And there's just a small bathroom in here. I gotta be honest, in my mind, this is more just here for storytelling. Like, I want the lot to look like it's busy and that there's lots of reasons to come here, but I don't see myself using it as a cafe. In my mind, it's a restaurant. I also just find the cafes kind of glitchy, so I don't really use them very frequently. But it also feels right to put a cafe here just because the original lot was a cafe. Like, I went and bulldozed these people's cafe and then I had to put one back for them. One of the things that was kind of weird that I tried to do was get sort of like a window seat tucked away next to the shelving. I really liked the idea of this. It's like a low bookshelf with an ottoman on top, and then I used some of the reward pillows. So get this, the new daily login rewards, you can access them without having actually earned them because the team who made them did a bad job of tagging them. So they're all available in game. All you have to do is filter by event rewards. You'll see nothing there at first, but then you also filter by every single color in the color filter selection, and all of the items will come up. It's kind of weird because it looks like there's just one swatch, so it's like a long list of all the different options, but it is still a way to access them. So I used the event reward pillow in here, even though it does not technically exist yet. Like, it shouldn't be unlocked. When I recorded this, the only one that I actually had was the dartboard, but hey, if they're in the game, then I'm still able to use them. That's not intentional, and it's not like it's a glitch or like a bug. It's just they didn't tag them right. They were supposed to lock them down more, because how these reward items always work is everybody actually has them in their game. They're just hidden from you unless you've earned them. So they just didn't hide them right, essentially, is the problem, but that's not a problem to me. I will take the free stuff. It's kind of annoying to get to, but it's better than nothing. It's still new free items. I made a whole video theorizing and discussing on those daily login rewards a few days ago. If you don't have them yet, don't panic. They said they're rolling them out slowly over the next couple of weeks to everybody, which I know sounds scary, but it's okay. You're not gonna miss out on anything. The timer to claim them doesn't start until you have it. So like, you're not gonna miss out on a week of rewards because you don't have it yet. You just will start the week later than I did because I got it yesterday, if that makes sense. So if you get it tomorrow, your time starts tomorrow. The whole thing is very confusing and it's throwing people off and people are upset, and it's just, I don't know. I feel very conflicted about these. I said it before in my first video, so I'm sorry to repeat myself, but I understand their intentions. I understand that they're trying to reward players who play the game a lot. I get it. I think that's a cool idea. I understand they're trying to encourage you to play the game more, and that's valid. They're welcome to want to do that. And I like free stuff. I like the chance to earn free stuff. I think these items are actually really cool. It's a lot of gameplay items that other people wouldn't have access to if they don't have packs. Things like the dartboard. I personally had kind of forgotten the dartboard even existed. So getting a new one that's cuter is huge, and it's gonna kind of encourage me to use it more. Plus, if you only have the base game, now you've got a cool new dartboard. There's no vending machines in the base game, so that's a great reward. There's a new trait, which is really cool. So I like the items themselves. The issue for me more lies in like the limited time thing. I wish that maybe it wasn't so limited, because I still hate the idea that people have the chance of missing out forever just because they couldn't log in that that week because they were busy for whatever reason. And there's so many reasons that you could be unable to log in. Maybe you're sick, maybe you've got exams, maybe you're working too much and you don't have time. And it just sucks that people then miss out because of things that are out of their control because you probably want to play Sims and you just don't have the ability to right now. So I wish that there was some other way. Like maybe if it was based over the course of like 2 months total and you had to log in 10 times during that whole set of 2 months. Because then if you're busy for a week, you still have time to make it up. Or I don't know, if there was just some other way, I think I would like it better. But I don't really want to come down too hard on them because I like the idea of free stuff. So I don't want to like scare them off from giving us free stuff. I just wish that maybe it was slightly different. Does that make sense? I'm curious to hear your thoughts now that it's kind of started more, if you've got any opinions on it. But I should probably talk about the build for a second because I'm doing a weird room right now. This is actually one of the first apartments in the building. So there's 3 total. There's 1 on the 2nd floor and then 2 on the 3rd floor. This is the smallest one. This one's kind of like a studio apartment. I am obsessed with decorating tiny apartments in The Sims. I had so much fun doing this. I tried to use a lot of the new items too. I actually kind of based the whole thing around those reddish curtains. Those curtains are from the Riviera Retreat kit and I tried to use them in here. I also used the new coffee maker in here because the Bistro kit has a coffee maker, which weirdly doesn't slot to any of the items that we get in the kit. It doesn't fit on the shelving. It doesn't fit on the bar. You have to put a coffee maker on a counter for it to work. That's just how it works. Same thing with like microwaves and stuff. They have to be on a counter, but it's kind of funny how they gave us this coffee maker, but you have to use something base game for it to fit. I did furnish one of these apartments and the other one I left mostly empty with like boxes to kind of tell a story of someone moving in. By this point, my game was getting kind of laggy, so I got scared. So I tried to not furnish the 3rd one fully. They're both kind of small. They're both only 1 bedroom. I don't really see these being all that useful to you unless you're playing as the restaurant owner. It's kind of nice in game when you own these buildings to have an apartment on the 2nd floor because then if you stay working late, your sim can just sleep while they're there. But otherwise, if you're just coming here for dinner, you don't need those places. They're just there for decoration. So like I was saying, I built this in Windenburg and it's over here on this hare and hedgehog lot. There's typically a cafe here, but I replaced it with my big giant building. And I added a couple of things once I stopped recording. So I've got a lot of stuff to show you out here. On the gallery, you'll see it's called the Olive Terrace Bistro. It does use a ton of packs. I'm so sorry. The video I'm posting tomorrow is just base game and the new kit, so hopefully it's a good balance. It also costs 211,000 simoleons, so it's quite pricey. Not that it matters too much with community lots. And this is what we've done with the exterior. So I'll show you a couple of little details. From the front, you can see we have this really adorable setup outside of the restaurant. You can come check in, get your table. I tried to put some pretty flowers and signs. Over here, we've got a ton of outdoor seating, and there's a few different sizes of tables too for you. I put trees and little cages around the whole building. And then on the right side, we have the cafe. And I tried to put this cute little busking station. This is a decoration from City Living. And then I placed a guitar and a microphone on it because that makes it functional as a lounge. But I also kind of like the idea of live music outside of the cafe. Around on the right side, we've got a bike rack. And then we also have a small parking lot. Ignore the fact that it doesn't seem like you could drive up here, okay? Just pretend. I like the vibes. We have the fire escape. We have a dumpster for the people who live here. In the way back, we have a mural on the floor so your Sims can paint this. This is the doorway that goes into the apartments. So I'll show you that in a second. We've got a couple chess tables and then this is like the back door to the restaurant. This is where I kind of imagine the employees going in and out. Obviously it's quite fancy, okay? But I wanted it to match. This is a little hopscotch thing. We've got the mailbox for the apartments and that's the main entire exterior. So when you go in first inside of the restaurant, this is what it looks like when you walk in. We've got just a little bit of seating here. I put a lot of cute clutter and decor on the walls. Lots of these pretty vintage posters everywhere. I love how this bar looks. I just think this is so cool. I really, really want to come here in real life. And then you can go through this little archway and this is where the employee stuff starts happening. So we have like the waiter station, we have the kitchen down here. I tried to make it seem realistic, but also not too cluttered that it was glitchy. Hopefully I did a good job. If you go up this staircase, it's quite small, but we've got like a little seating area. This is the bathroom. I was obsessed with the gold accents in here. I kind of loved it. And there's just some small things like a bookshelf. We have a little bit more seating upstairs in the restaurant. I think I managed to use every single item from the Bistro kit in this building. My favorite part is probably this upstairs balcony space to sit and eat. I love the idea of your Sims sitting right here because look at the view from this table. Like that's so nice. I like to have my Sims get engaged in Windenburg and I'm gonna use this restaurant for that, I think. That is the whole restaurant though. I did set up a menu for it. I just have some default fancy outfits and I tried to pick what I described as a quite fancy, slightly Italian inspired menu. It's not an Italian restaurant. It's kind of like just just a generic fancy restaurant that happens to serve a bit of Italian food. I have a lot of coffee and a lot of fancy drinks on the menu, kind of fitting with the lounge vibes. For appetizers, we have things like breads and salads and soups and stuff. For the main course, they have a lot of pizza and pasta, but also some other fancy dishes like fried fish and lobster and things like that. And then for desserts, we've got like biscotti, gelato, a couple of cakes and cheesecakes and stuff. I really enjoy picking out menus for restaurants. I think it's kind of fun to customize, so that's what I picked for this one. And then if you come to the right side, this is the cafe that we were talking about. So when you first walk in, this is functional if you change the lot type to be a cafe. Your Sims can order their food and drinks from right here. I had a lot of fun cluttering the back of this. I like individually placed all these mugs and stuff. This is my little fake window seat with the books. We've got a big long setup of seats right here for you. I don't have any tables in here, mostly because I was trying to avoid causing glitches. I did not want your Sims to sit in here if they were trying to go to the restaurant. So I made there be no tables to not cause any confusion. There is also a small bathroom downstairs in this room. We've got like a little sink and then a really small bathroom stall, but that's the whole setup for the cafe. When you come around the back again, this is how you access the apartment. So they have that small door right here and they just walk into a tiny staircase. That brings you up to another tiny staircase, but you can access the first apartment. This is that one that we just furnished together. It's a small studio. It has a tiny bathroom, small living room, bedroom, kitchen. Not a lot going on, but I think it's really cute. And it's definitely functional if you're trying to pretend that you own the restaurant. Upstairs, I also furnished this apartment, kind of eclectic in vibes. I don't know if it's very good, but I had fun doing it. This one's a bit bigger. They have a separate bedroom and a bigger bathroom. And then we also have a second apartment up here, and this one is empty. So we've got what I pretend is the bedroom. We've got a pretend setup for the living room. I kind of tried to make it look like they were starting to move in. So we've got a little bit of furniture, some boxes. They haven't really unpacked yet, was kind of the idea. And that, my friends, is the fully finished building. It's huge. I hope that you like it. I'm actually live on Twitch right now playing The Sims because it's the last day of our fundraiser. So if you want to come by and hang out, please, please, please do. My link is down below. I've got the charity page linked down below too. Like I said earlier, we're like this close to reaching $500,000 raised, and I think that would be so cool. I'll also link the other video that I made on these kits down below in case you want to see a more full review. And with that, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna end the video right here, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. Oh, I'm really sorry if the cars excite you, by the way. Those are just pretend cars. It's a fake parking lot. They're from Debug. They don't actually function. There's no cars in The Sims 4. I'm so sorry.